Hello, and welcome back to Wild Sanative. In the last episode, I shared what it was like to begin again in a new place far away from home, a place that I had lived in my whole life. But before I ever moved away, before I fully understood the direction my life was taking, another door had already begun to open. It came through a teacher Blanca had spoken very highly of. Her name was Maya. And looking back now, I can see that some of the most significant turning points in our lives begin quietly. They don't always arrive with great fanfare. They do not announce themselves as life-changing moments. Instead, they often begin as a feeling or a curiosity or some sort of internal pull, a sense that something is inviting us forward even when we do not understand why. That is how it was for me. And now I am not somebody who spends time chasing every spiritual teacher, teaching, or channel that appears. I don't do that. Quite honestly, I never felt the need to. I already had a teacher that I had trusted, and Blanca had become not only my teacher, but one of the most important people in my life. The healing work she taught felt authentic, practical, and very deeply heart-centered, and I trusted her. And because of that, I was never interested in collecting teachings from everywhere. The truth is, there are many teachings in the world. Some are beautiful, some are helpful, but some feel distorted. I have always relied heavily on my intuition when it comes to these things. If something feels like it's fear-based, divisive, intentionally negative, or disconnected from the heart, I simply move on. I don't pay attention to it. I do not spend any of my time trying to force understanding. I listen to what my inner knowing tells me, and as a result, I have always kept my circle very small. But something about Maya caught my attention. When I first watched her videos, I felt immediately drawn into them. Not because she was charismatic or popular, not because she claimed to have special answers. It was the way she taught. There was a depth to her work that felt different. She approached spiritual teachings through what I can only describe as sacred science. There was logic in it. There was structure. There was a framework that connected spirituality with principles that felt deeply aligned with what I understood about consciousness, energy, and quantum reality. Quantum science has always fascinated me, not because I pretend to understand any or a lot of the aspects of it, but because it points towards something I have always sensed. The reality is far more interconnected than we realize. The consciousness matters, the energy matters, intention matters, and Maya had a way of explaining these concepts that felt both expansive and grounded. Then there was another piece that captured my attention. It was her connection to Thoth. Many people know Thoth as the ancient Egyptian history as the ibis-headed god of wisdom, knowledge, writing, science, and sacred understanding. The symbol of the ibis immediately stood out for me because I remembered the ibis. There was something familiar about it and something that stirred recognition inside of me. Combined with Maya's intelligence, kindness, and sincerity, I found myself wanting to learn more. So I reached out, and to my surprise, I connected with her. What I discovered was that Maya, like Blanca, carried a connection to Thoth. The similarities intrigued me, but what fascinated me even more were the differences. Blanca's teachings connected deeply with healing. Through her, I learned that healing was possible on levels far more beyond than what most people imagine. She taught us how emotional, energetic, spiritual, and physical healing is all intersect. It's all intertwined. She taught that healing is not only possible, but natural when we learn to work with it consciously. Maya approached Thoth's teachings through a wider lens. Her work explored consciousness, sacred science, energetic architecture, human evolution, and the deeper mechanics behind reality itself. Where Blanca helped me heal, Maya helped me expand. The two teachings complemented one another beautifully, and I found myself becoming increasingly interested in what Maya was sharing. And I remember discussing this with Blanca, and I shared what I was learning with her. I shared how much the teachings resonated with me, and she understood exactly why. Then an opportunity appeared. There was going to be a meet and greet with Maya, and at the time, I had not yet moved away. My life was still unfolding in ways I could not fully understand. Yet something inside of me knew I needed to go. Not wanted to go, needed to go. And it was one of those moments where the pull was so strong you just stop questioning it. You simply follow it. You go with the flow, and that's what I did, and I attended. And looking back now, I can see what appeared to be a simple decision was actually the beginning of something much larger. And at the time, I thought I was simply meeting a teacher. I thought I was attending an event, and I thought I was exploring a new perspective. What I did not realize was that I was stepping onto a path that would eventually become one of the most meaningful chapters of my life. And I was being introduced to a new community, a new body of teachings, a new way of understanding consciousness, healing, and human potential. More importantly, I was being prepared for changes that had not yet arrived, changes I could not possibly foresee. Sometimes life places people in our path before we understand why they are there. Sometimes a teacher arrives before the lesson. Sometimes a doorway opens before we are ready to walk through it. And sometimes what feels like a simple introduction becomes the beginning of an entirely new chapter. And at the time, I didn't know any of that. I only knew that something felt right, and for the first time in a long time, I was excited to learn. Thank you for joining me today, and until next time, may you walk gently, stay curious, and trust the quiet callings that guide you toward your own path of wisdom.